The International Christian Embassy Jerusalem is your embassy in the heart of Israel, founded in 1980. From our headquarters in Jerusalem through our branches in over 80 nations and yours in Canada, we seek to challenge the Church to take up its scriptural responsibilities, to remind Israel of the promises made to her in the Bible, and to be a source of practical assistance to all the people in the land of Israel.
Okay, we're in the old city of David, and with me I have Oren. He's an official guide at the city of David. Welcome, Oren.
Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're right now at the top of the hill of the city of David, and actually what is right here beneath us, right down behind us, is a tiny hill. It takes us about 4 minutes walking distance to cross. But this is actually where Jerusalem, the city of Jerusalem, started, and this is where King David actually arrived approximately 3,000 years back. If we'll look around us, we can actually see we're in a little deeper area compared with the whole scenery around us. And as we're here in the book of Psalms 125, Jerusalem is actually surrounded by hills. And that's the scenery around the city of Jerusalem as its ancient time that started even before King David. But our story will actually take us to King David's days, approximately 3,000 years back. In 1960s, an excavation down the slope right down here found ruins of stones that rolled down from the top of the hill. In between them big stones, two were actually pieces of a decoration, and that decoration is right here behind me. It's a big decoration. That is a replica, it isn't the original. The original is in the Israel Museum. But if you look at that big stone, it's a capital at the top of a column of a majestic building, commercial zone, something. That was a clue for Dr. Eilat Mazar, an Israeli archaeologist, 17 years ago, to offer that somewhere up at the top of the hill, maybe a palace actually stood. In this place from 2005, an excavation ongoing found ruins of very large foundations. Unfortunately, the building is destroyed. All we have left are large pieces of foundations. She believes that you're actually standing right now in King David's palace. Truth is, I can't be sure it's right, but it might be the location where the palace stood at the top of the hill, and then when we look around, we're actually right above the whole city, where everyone lived and where all the hills around us actually surround the city, like we mentioned before. In the second book of Samuel, chapter 5, Hiram, the king of Tyre, Lebanon today, sent messengers, cedar trees, masons, and carpenters to build David's palace. Maybe the style used right here in this capital, discovered in this location, is actually brought by these workers from Tyre to build this area. If it's true, I do not know, but maybe the most interesting clue is right here in my pocket. What you see right here is the 5-shekel coin. If you look carefully at the 5-shekel coin, what you'll actually see is the same design that's on the capital. This is a copy of the capital, because each and every Israeli coin has an archaeological find put on it, connecting today, the modern 21st century, with thousands of years of history discovered in the land of Israel. We went a little bit down from where maybe the palace stood, and what you see right behind me, right here, is a huge staircase that actually is a man-made support holding whatever was built above it. But what actually happened here during the First Temple period, approximately 2,800 years back, is that our neighborhood was built on top of the support. And you look just a little bit further down, you'll see squares. These are ruins of the rooms of these houses. The most interesting thing here is that these are luxury homes with pieces of furniture that were discovered, burnt and smashed in destruction. But actually when they analyzed the pieces of wood, they found out this is imported wood, a tree that does not grow in Israel. So whoever lived here was quite wealthy. And then that doesn't astonish us, doesn't amaze us too much to find out that in one of these houses, many pieces of pottery, little pieces of pottery were found, basically the size of my fingernail. Or in reconstruction, just something like this. What is this? This is actually a seal impression. When I seal a document in the ancient world, I take my seal and press it onto a little piece of clay. It hardens into pottery, and that's where my name will be written. 1982, summer, right down here, 51 seal impressions were found in one corner of one house. Reading through them carefully, cleaning them up, they found one name we know. A name of a minister in the government of Judah from the days of the First Temple period, mentioned in the book of Jeremiah. A man named Gemariyahu, the son of Shaphan. He is mentioned as a man that took the words of the prophet and through his son actually moved it and transferred it to the people, to the king's scribe, and eventually it arrived at the king as well, even though the king didn't really want to listen. So that's the first time a name we know was actually discovered in excavation in Jerusalem in full context with the destruction, because the house was found covered in ashes of the destruction 586 BCE by the Babylonian forces. But the truth is that till today, since 1982, many dozens more of names were found. In total, 2 more we know. 2 more ministers in the same government from the same time. So 3 names of ministers in the government of Judah in the days of Jeremiah were actually found in between the ruins of these houses. And the most interesting thing, in Jeremiah 30, he actually says, the city will be built again on top of its own ruins. And if you look beyond the houses that are destroyed and this support, you see a big square tower. This is from the Second Temple period. The city coming back to the same location after destruction and rebuilt again, right on top of its ruins. As you can see, I'm really close to the ceiling right now. Not because I'm very tall, it's because I'm actually maybe closer to the height, the average height of people thousands of years ago. We are 35 feet below surface, inside a tunnel from 3,800 years back, taking us underground and down to the spring. This is where the people of Jerusalem walked. It's wide enough for us to go down, another group to be walking back up and climbing the steps with their full jugs of water to bring water for cooking, drinking, even bathing. Anything we need at home will be from this source, from the water source, the Gihon spring, down the hill. This underground system actually allows us a safe way without too much problem, without the enemy really seeing us, as we continue underground and reach the spring itself. The system that we actually just walked might be the tzino, the gutter, or the water system that Yoav, the son of Tzruya, King David's general, used to enter the city and capture it from the hands of the Jebusites approximately 3,000 years back. In that way, King David actually captured the city without destroying it, taking advantage of its vulnerable point, an underground water system that connects the city with the spring down below. So what you can see behind us, right up there, are the 2 massive stone walls that in between them people can reach the pool. That's actually down to the left. That's the open space. But apparently one of the most interesting things that actually happened right here happened after the days of David. When David dies, he actually passes his kingdom to his son, Solomon. Solomon wasn't his oldest son. And of course that meant that there were a few older ones that said, wait a minute, what about us? What a mess. David says, I want a ceremony. I want everyone to know what's happening. Take my son Solomon, he says, put him on my personal mule, giving him the king's car or the president's limo, giving him everything I own. Because the man on the king's car, on the king's mule, is the new king. He says, take him down to the Gihon spring. The Gihon spring is underneath these stones, down below. And on top of the spring, crown him as king. So at this location, many people gather quickly around the young Solomon. He was a teenager at the time, and they all shout together at the end of the ceremony, Yechi HaMelech Shlomo, in Hebrew, long live King Solomon. Now you felt the echoes. Try to think what happens when dozens of people are shouting together right here. And the echo all over announces a new king, a king that will actually be a king of Israel for 40 years, settled in Jerusalem, with receiving visitors from all over, delegations, diplomats, and whatever you want. This will be actually a new, strong kingdom settled right here in Jerusalem. And now, I'm sure you can hear the spring right down below us. And that actually flows since 2,700 years ago, since the days of the king Hezekiah, the king of Judah, some 11 generations after David. All the water was transferred from this area through a new channel, reaching a third of a mile away from here, the other side of the hill, actually taking all the water from the spring into the city. That was only possible once the city was actually growing and growing throughout the First Temple period into an area that was actually lower in height than the spring. Till those days, this was the source for 1,000 years. Hezekiah actually took all the water in a channel you can walk through with lights that actually take us underneath the hill of the city of David, winding and winding to the other end, to the pool of Siloam. The really deepest spot is down there. That's where the water actually filled this pool, and from above us, from the top, people can throw their jugs down this solid stone wall into the deep pool, fill their jugs and back up. We're actually right now supported in protection by massive stone walls. We saw them up on top, but they're actually all around us in a few more locations as well. In this way, the ancient people of Jerusalem, in the days of the Jebusites, before David was here, actually reached their water. The interesting thing is that David captured the city through the water system, but kept on using the exact same system. For many centuries later, 3 centuries later, same system keeps on functioning, and that's the only way people have water in Jerusalem of the First Temple period.
Now, Oren, we can hear some water flowing here, can we not?
Yes, we can. We actually hear the water of the spring, and we'll be standing right above it in just a few minutes, but this is the water of the spring that is flowing today in a second channel we'll get to soon enough.
What would you estimate the distance to the bottom here?
Between where we started and right here, in total it's about 200 feet. From the top of the hill to the area of the spring.
100% of what we receive from you toward a project goes to that designation. Through your contribution to ICEJ Canada, you can participate by giving to Bet Singer Children's Orphanage Bathrooms, Christian Friends of Yad Vashem, Home for Holocaust Survivors, Israeli Youth at Risk Summer Camp in Canada, Operation Life Shield Bomb-Proof Shelters, Red Carpet Project Women at Risk in Tel Aviv, Shoulder to Shoulder New Immigrant Partner Project, Women's Shelter Project, General Fund, Gift Estate Securities Funds, ICEJ Communication Media Fund.